Welcome back everyone to another episode of All About Mechanics. Today is the Veteran Asylum Sanctorium guide. Now this is going to be shown in two different ways. We're going to show you the basics of how to kill all the different bosses individually, and then we're going to demonstrate what you need to do different in the hard mode as well. Now the group in here is ninjas from NA on PC, so they did kindly take some time out of their own day to try and get this done for us, just to demonstrate to you how to get this finished. Of course, there are lots of different mechanics that you have to understand. They aren't too difficult on the surface, but they will get a little bit clustery as you go into the hard mode, especially if you start introducing both of the bosses to the last boss. Don't worry, all of that is going to be explained, so if you want to see some more of this, you want to get this done, keep watching, it's coming right up. So when you first come in, you've got a corridor straight ahead of you. There's a gate, and that is how you activate the hard mode. You've got two buttons there. You can just press them both and go straight into hard mode. But if you want to do it basic, you can of course take the bosses individually. There's 3 bosses in total, one to the left, one to the right, and one dead center. Now you can go left first, you can go right first. It's entirely up to you. And if you do want to do the +1, which is basically not quite hard mode, but one of the bosses introduced with the last fight, you can just do one side and then go straight for the middle. We're going to show you here each individual boss, then we're going to demonstrate the difference in the hard mode to show you what you're going to come into contact with when it gets to that stage. But first of all, obviously this is quite a basic fight. You have the main boss in the middle, which will teleport in 3 different locations around the room. As you can see there's his first spot. But what you have to be careful of is when he channels, he puts his hand in the air, you have to interrupt him. Also, there is another mechanic where he will put a cone on one player. As you can see, I've got it on myself there. And I have to stand still and block. If I move around the room, everyone else is going to take damage. That's why we're so close, because the smaller end of the triangle is closer, and we don't have to get loads and loads of people in the thick end of it and kill them. So stay as close to that boss as you can. Also, in the meantime, there are 2 other adds in the room that can be held to one side by the tank. Now, depending on the strength of the tank, depends on how long you want to hold on to them for. If they're very, very tanky, you can hold on to them for the entire fight. If not, then you might want to kill them once they start enraging. Maybe you can keep them close with a little bit of AoE, but the group does need to be aware of their ground-based mechanics. Apart from that, that's about it. As you can see there, the 2 adds are there. We've chosen to take them out. They'll sit down for a little while, and then they'll get back up again. But if you get caught by any of those frontal AoEs or the jump and slam, you will take a one-shot as a DPS or healer. The boss is still doing his channel. He still needs to be interrupted, and he'll still do his conal effect with the poison. Once these are dealt with, you can just go back to the boss. You see the big jump there? Stay out of it. As you saw, we got a death. Now, every single time that boss moves, he will drop a poison circle on the ground. You must get out of it as fast as possible. As you can see, the cone is there again. We've got it on one of our members there. They are standing still, blocking, and everyone else is so close that it's very easy to just get out of that triangle and step to one side. Again, if everyone was too far away and everyone's playing massive range, there would be multiple people caught in that triangle very, very early, the wrong people, and they will die. So stay close. A nice semicircle is fine. What you just saw there was the result of nobody actually interrupting. Everybody flew backwards. That's one thing you have to pay very close attention to. Once you've mastered that triangular cone poison ability, you will need to pay very close attention to the other one. The one that was mentioned first of all, where he puts his hand up and he channels. If you don't interrupt that, he'll knock everyone back. And until he's interrupted, he will constantly channel poison direct shots at the group over and over and over. So it's very, very important that you keep on your interrupts. If you've got someone using Crush and Shock in their rotation, that can be done by default. Failing that, make sure you bash them early. The way to spot it is a big circle coming out from underneath the boss. Just be very quick with it. Sometimes it can overlap and you think you've caught it and you haven't, but even if you do get knocked down, just be quick about it and make sure that you do knock into him and bash him to stop him doing that channel. Apart from that, the fight is relatively the same throughout the rest of it. Poison triangles, big burst AoE that you've got to bash, and then a couple of shots on the tank. Big poison AoE underneath him when he teleports. Whenever he does teleport, make sure you get to that spot as quick as possible. 9 times out of 10, he'll throw the poison cone at the group as you run to his next spot. If you don't get close to that boss, you don't sit there in your nice controlled semicircle, you are going to find that most people are going to be caught in the triangle when you don't want them to be, and it can get really messy. Now, as you can see on the side, the adds are they're dying quite casually to AoE damage, and the tank is still absolutely fine. However, if you do find that you've got a squishy tank, you can focus those adds more often. We do tend to kill them throughout this fight just by default anyway, but it's your choice. If you've got a very chunky tank, you can leave them there. If not, kill them. This is a prime example of why people should not be all going really, really range for the majority of the fight, because that triangle gets really thick at the far end of it, and too many people get caught. So this is why I've encouraged people to stay as close to this boss as possible at all times. That spreads into 5-6 people. You've got a mess on your hands. You're going to need to bring some necro reses. Again, there's the big triangle. Get out of it quick if it's not on you. If it is on you, you must stay still. If you don't stay still, you're going to spread it around and kill everybody. We have decided to kill the ads here. It's close to execute. The boss is going to die, but why make things difficult? The ads have enraged. Kill them. Now it's just you and the boss, and nothing changes. Again, the 3 major mechanics. Teleport with the poison stuff. Poison triangle, which one person has to block and stand still. You will see an effect on you if it's on you. As you can see, the person who's got it now was glowing green. And then you've got this interrupt mechanic. And it is a repetitive fight. If you can do the first 10% of the fight, you can do the whole thing. It never changes. Now, the next fight is a little different. You do have a very similar looking boss, but he's got very different mechanics. We've got a Nightblade, and he jumps around the room. Now, to make this very, very simple, again, it's all about coordination. So what I suggest you do is you stack as a group in the middle with the tank with his back against the wall, holding the boss there. Then you will need 3 kite locations. So the far left, the far right, and then the back, which is basically where we're about to walk into the room. So have a very good, nimble, active ranged DPS on the left, or healer, and one on the right, as you can see there. 1 left, 1 right, and then in the middle, you want your off tank, if you have one. If not, someone else can kite instead. And those are your 3 major positions. Do not move from there. When he jumps to you, which he will, as a kiter, you need to move out of the negative AoE that's on the ground. And then, when that space is cleared, the previous one, you can go back to it. Or you can just stand where you are, wait for the next jump, and then wiggle left and right as and when he does it. The first phase, he will jump at 1 person. The second phase, he'll jump at 2. And the third, he'll jump at 3. Boss does also follow the rule of 3 as far as the mechanics are concerned, but you have to be very aware of this one, the big boom. Get out, get back in again. He'll put his hand up. He will, there you go, there's the kite. He jumps across and someone has to basically taunt him out. The longest range person will be the one that he jumps. Big boom, get out, get in again. What you want to do on this fight is stay as close to each other, stacked in the middle as possible, except for the ones that are basically enticing him out. So the rule number 1 is stack. As soon as he puts his hand up, big boom's coming down, get out, get in. You must get back in as soon as possible. If you don't, there's 2 booms, they will spread out too far, and people will have nowhere to go, and that's when it becomes a mess. You need to make sure you coordinate in and out over and over. As you saw very quickly a moment ago, we had 2 ads come in. They will come in periodically. You will have to deal with them, and if you don't kill them in a decent amount of time, they will aggressively accelerate in terms of their damage output. So you have to be very careful and make sure you focus those at all times. They do spin to win. They do have a Steel Tornado or Whirling Blades. If that happens, all you need to do is block. Or if you can slightly step out of it, do so. But don't separate from your group. When he puts his hand up, split up, come back in. Split up, come back in. You must repeat that. If anyone deviates from that, you're going to make a mess of it. Again, as you can see, 2 overlapping AoEs. You want them both stacked on top of each other. When it comes to the last phase, when there's going to be 3 different mains, big circles on the ground where the kiters are, 1 at the front, 1 at the side, 1 at the other side, this big boom in the middle is going to have nowhere to go but here. And if you spread out too far, you're going to cover the whole room in negative AoE, and you're not going to have any space to stand in. Again, as you can see here, make sure that you focus the ads, not the boss. If you can AoE him down, great. If not, don't worry. These mechanics are very, very basic in their given form, but the problem is your group can make a mess of it. Other people can make things go wrong. So you have to coordinate, you have to be disciplined. When he's jumping around the room, as you can see, he jumped on someone's head there, the kiter at the side, they just moved aside and let that AoE settle. Once he jumps again, the old one will be gone and they can jump in the old spot. That repeats over and over and over and over. However, again, you must coordinate. If you chase the boss around when he teleports, you're going to spread out, he's going to throw a big boom in the air and it's going to go all over the place. Don't do that, stay together. If you can range him while he's teleporting, great. If you can't reach him, don't worry, just maintain your resources. If you can, if you've got any form of long-range heavy attack without any long-range abilities, maybe a bow or something like that, you can still heavy attack him, or just get your dots down ready for him to come back in again. Much like the last boss, it's a very repetitive fight, so if you can stick to your routines and your coordination within your group and you're disciplined enough to do that, it's inevitable that you'll pass it. Nothing really changes in the grand scheme of things. You've got three major mechanics. You've got the jump to the side where the kiters are, where he'll drop a big maim AoE on the ground. You don't want to be caught in it. So obviously they have to bait him out into the corners. Then you've got your big boom, which is a double AoE, which is why you stack and stay as close as possible. So then you've only got a double overlapped single shot to get out of rather than a vast area. And then you've got your third mechanic, which is your ads. They come in, you have to kill them, otherwise they'll kill you, and if they steal tornado, just block. Again, this goes on and on and on. It does get more stressful the lower the health, but not because of the boss, it's because of the ads. The longer the fight goes on, the stronger they get, so it's more important at lower health to make sure that you do actually kill them. I know lots of people like to YOLO and try and focus the boss too much. Yes, I know, it's glamorous to go and nuke the boss. You can still nuke the boss if you've got enough DPS, but if you've got enough DPS to nuke the boss, then the ad shouldn't be a problem. Above all, if you want to make things easier for yourself, always focus the ads. It essentially doesn't matter how long it takes you to kill this boss. Even if you have, say, 10k DPS per person, which is borderline impossible now with the new champion points. This was done pre-champion points, by the way. You can still do it. As long as your kiters are on form, your group is coordinating, and you focus the actual major mechanics, being the ads, you won't have an issue. The only problem that usually comes up in groups where this boss gets messy at low health is when people start panicking. Don't look at the health if it confuses you. Lots of people think low health means panic and do stupid stuff. No, just keep doing what you're doing. You will be absolutely fine. There's no negative effect to you just continuing doing what you're doing. Now, the AoE mechanics, if things go wrong, if you do get maimed in the middle of the group, which you shouldn't, maybe one of your guys has died at the edge, then obviously you want to get them up nice and quick, but people do not scatter. Get out of the major AoE and find another spot for you all to stand in together. You must always stay together. There's only 3 people that should be separate, apart from the tank, which is back against the wall, and that's the kite on the right, the kite on the left, and the one in the main center, which is usually, like I said, the tank. It's very easy for them to control the ads if something goes wrong because they're in direct line with the tank rather than trying to wiggle around awkward hitboxes on the wall. Yes, that does happen. Sometimes if they're kiting into the corner, they can't quite see the ads, they won't quite reach them with a range taunt. Tips for the kiters, however, regardless of what role you are, DPS, tank, or healer, it doesn't make a difference. Be very careful that you've got a system in place for where you're going to stand per jump, because he will always jump to the furthest person away. So, from the center, he will decide at random which one's the furthest, and then so on and so forth. If you stay in your locations, you should be fine. However, if one of you decides to wiggle, get scared, and go too far, when he comes to you, the next furthest person away is going to be the main tank. So his next jump in will put the main on the spot where the DPS is. And this is where you have to alternate with your positions as a group. As you can see here, we've still maintained a stack, but we had to do it in a slightly different location because the main is now on the spot where we were killing him. If you can alter to those situations, you won't have any trouble with this fight whatsoever, but you must be aware of each individual one. Remember, I can't stress this enough, ads must die, stay together. When the big boom comes out, get in, get out, get in, rinse, repeat. Discipline yourselves to those positions. On the hard mode, you won't have the ads. You won't have to deal with those. You will just have him, but he will have his basic mechanics. He will have his big boom, and he will have his teleport. So you've got to make sure that you do have kiters ready for that stuff so they can pull the AoE out of the group. And you have to make sure that if you do have the big boom landed on your head, you do not stand in it. Yes, there are some situations, unfortunately, where mechanics can stagger. It's not going to make much sense yet because we're not there, but on my own runs, I've actually been stuck in a situation where I've had the poison triangle on me, so I have to block. I've had the big boom about to land on my head, and I've had the lightning from the last boss aiming straight at me, so I've got to move. So what can you do? I can't move because I'll kill other people with the poison. I have to move, otherwise I get the big boom on my head, and I have to move because I got the lightning. And those situations can happen. It's just RNG. Don't panic if it does. It's not the end of the world. And because this is a mini trial as well, with it being a very, very fast one, it's not the end of the world again if you have to just come back in again. Most trials, sure, they have loads and loads and loads of ads. This one doesn't. It's 3 bosses. You can just pick it up, put it down again. Nice and quick. Now, the last boss is actually very, very basic, but again, the one trick to this entire trial is your group coordination. Some fights, it's a case of, oh, the boss hits too hard, or, oh, the ads are too much. No, this is all on you. The only reason you will wipe is if your group kills each other. Because the boss generally doesn't hit that hard. He doesn't really hit the group at all. There are some mechanics that you'll have to deal with, but he doesn't really hit the group at all. Now, I know lots of people like to shout entrance and exit, but just throwing it out there, that's not an exit behind him, that's just a fence. The exit is the door you just walked through. So, we're going to go front and back for this one, but you can call it what you like. So, if you look very carefully on the floor over there, you can see a square in the middle of the room. That's basically where the tank wants to be holding the boss. And as you can see, our healer has gone way to the back, and there are several little kind of cubby holes in a semicircle at the back there. Now, that's where the healer needs to go for the tank. That's your main kiter for a big lightning AoE. That will drain your resources and hurt very, very hard. We'll get to that in a moment. But essentially what you need to figure out is a semicircle around the back of the boss. If you can coordinate to that kind of formation, that will basically set in stone the rest of the fight. You must always get back into your semicircle after mechanics happen. If anyone tries to crisscross behind anyone else or change positions or all that kind of stuff, when the lightning comes out, it's going to hurt. You must pay attention to your position and you must always get back to it. Anyone that YOLOs is going to kill the group. Now, the dragon spits. Big lightning AoE for the furthest person away. Obviously, the boss was pulled before we were ready, but it doesn't matter. That lightning AoE is what the healer at the back is kiting for. Now, we also have one at the other side of the room, making sure that the furthest away will make that happen. So you have to make sure that these two people are in the same kind of role as the kite is in the last fight. Always make sure there's two people either side, furthest away from the dragon, so that he can put that on them. They just hit the healer there. They run out. They move positions. And you just repeat, repeat, repeat. Now, just a small point, if you are a vampire, getting out of that circle with mist form is absolutely amazing if you don't think you can dodge roll or sprint out of it quick enough. You will take hardly any damage whatsoever. You'll be immune to immobilization and snared effects, so you can get out of there nice and quick, and it's very, very safe. Now, the next mechanic is where it really starts kicking off. Everyone needs to get to the front or the back of the room and block. He will jump backwards and forwards. So to the kiter at the back, you must get to the sides, otherwise he's going to kill you. The tank can survive it. This will happen at 91%, 76, 51, and 26. Get to the sides, block. When it's finished, come back into your semicircle, and then this happens. The dragon will go up in the air, and he will emit lightning all over the room. Now, it will be several different random ones going in different directions, but each individual player will have their own lightning AoEs attached to them. Now, what you need to do is fan out. Everyone in their own semicircle, if they move backwards directly, will not cross anybody's path. There'll be 4 different drops plus the one that comes at you randomly. You can wiggle in a tiny circle and avoid them all if you want, or you can just go straight back. But you don't want to go too far so that you actually outrange the kiter at the back of the room, because if you do, the lightning's going to land on you instead. Just bear in mind, of course, now you're introduced to a brand new mechanic, and you've got to keep an eye on both of these at the same time. The new mechanic is actually this ad here. If you don't kill him, you can't harm the boss. And he'll land in several different locations. You've got the gate at the front, you've got the fence at the back, you've got the middle. It's basically front, back, or middle. Whichever you call out, obviously that's going to help your group find out where it is. But above all, you must maintain your semicircle. So if you can reach from range without moving, great. If you can't reach from range, then of course don't cut across the room unless you know you've got enough time for the next mechanic. And if you're melee and it's next to you, of course get it quick, but get back in place, because this happens again. If you can maintain your spatial awareness as far as your semicircle formation is concerned, that lightning mechanic is the one thing that will make or break this fight. If you can always remember to shout fan out or whatever it is you shout and go backwards, backwards, backwards and come back in again, or even just wiggle in a very small spot away from other people so that you can avoid your 4 dropping lightning AoEs, you will be absolutely fine. The key thing to this is whether you go and kill an ad or whether you're trying to res someone or whatever it is, you must always get back to your position, or be aware that behind you is your space and no one should be in it. If you start crisscrossing around the room, you are going to kill people. As you can see, the boss isn't really doing anything else. He just hits the tank a few times. He fires lightning in the air. The front and back kiters can manage that. He fires breath at the tank can literally just step out of it. Very, very simple. And he fires heavy attacks, which the tank can block. You can see here, of course, the boss is going to go up in the air and jump around the room. This is when you need to get to the front and the back. Wherever you are, wherever your side of the semicircle is, whichever's closest, get there quickly. Then, once it's over, you can come back in. As you can see, he's immune again. He can't take any damage. You must kill that ad, otherwise he is not going to be weakened and you can't hurt him at all. But be aware, the lightning mechanic is going to constantly be happening. You must keep eyes on the boss, or someone must be aware of it. Now, just saying, that steam breath, by the way, it is focused, it is channeled. If he faces away from the tank and at the group, he's not going to turn around again after a taunt. He will turn around once he's finished. The boss actually has a rotation. He's very, very stubborn, slow, and boring. And if he starts swinging at you in the group, just step aside. He'll keep doing it until he's finished, then he'll turn back on the tank again. It's all back to normal. You can dodge his heavies, you can dodge his lights. The steam will put a nasty debuff on the tank if they get caught by it, so the next physical hits will hurt very, very much. But again, as you can see, Spen here is literally just stepping to one side whenever it happens. Don't spin the boss. You have plenty of time to get out of the breath and get back in. Again, as you can see, these ads are coming in, the protectors. They will make the boss immune. You must kill that first. So order priority. Maintain that semicircle and keep very, very aware of where you are standing when it comes to this light and stuff. Just back, 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 and back in again. Make sure you kill the protectors, and then you just get on the boss. Now again, remember, 91%, 76, 51, and 26. You need to get to the front and the back of the room, depending on where you are currently situated, and block, because the jump will kill you. Kiter, especially at the far right of the room from where we're standing here. Tank is on the left, far Kiter's on the right. You have to get to the side very, very quickly, because he's going to jump on you first. Just saying. Also, when it comes back, the healer at the left-hand side needs to also be very, very careful. Now, again, this is rinse, repeat. If you haven't got a place to stand to get to the protector, stay ranged. If not, just maintain resources on the boss. You can still get recovery back from heavy attacks if the boss is immune. As you saw there, when I was trying to hit the protector, we got the lightning AoEs coming out. If I had have run across the room there to try and kill the protector, I would have been in somebody else's way and I would have killed someone. But I maintained my position in the semicircle, I did what I could from range, and everybody's safe. Nice and simple, and this fight is literally rinse, repeat, all the way through. It doesn't really change until you get to execute, and then it's not the end of the world, it's not a panic, it's not kill it quick or else. It's just another mechanic that you can maintain, here we go, block again, and still perform regardless of the amount of DPS you have. It's a slow fight if you make it slow, it's a quick fight if you make it quick, but mechanics are key. Once it gets under 25%, that's when shit hits the fan, yes, but it's not kill it or die, it's just take your time, make sure you follow the mechanics. Even if you have 10k DPS, you can still complete this fight. It's very straightforward, but it's quite dramatic, so it will make people panic. Just remember, nothing bad is going to happen as long as you follow the mechanics clearly, and it's about footwork in this. This whole thing is not necessarily about DPS, it's about your feet. If you're not in the semicircle and spreading out or fanning out when that mechanic kicks in with the lightning, you're going to kill people. If you are not maintaining your resources, you won't have enough to maybe dodge or block when it comes to the jump. And if you are not very good with your feet when it comes to the fire phase at 25%, you're not going to be able to get out of trouble quickly. Again, there's going to be a fix for that, because for practice groups, I can tell you a trick that will basically guarantee your survival even if you don't get out of the big boom. Anyway, now we're approaching lesser end of the fight. We've got fire pot, beetles, spiders, whatever you want to call them, coming into the fight. They do come in and explode. They will do a little bit of damage. Don't panic. As long as heals are down on the group, you shouldn't really get hit that hard at all. You don't need to focus them because they will literally kill themselves eventually, or the AoE itself will kill them as well. So don't panic about the fire pot spiders. As you can see, one's coming in, just ran past the tank. You don't even need to taunt it. It just blew up and died. There's nothing to them. They're just an inconvenience. If you are not aware of your surroundings, your healers aren't on point, or you're just standing in stupid too much and you're low health, sure, one of them might kill you. But if not, you should be absolutely fine. Where I'm standing right now, by the way, if the kiter at the back or the front isn't far enough away from the boss, I will get the lightning on my feet. As you saw there, he'd already decided it was on me. What do? Just get out of it, leave it alone. When it comes to the lightning phase, because that's behind me, I might have to go round a little bit, but I need to be aware of my surroundings. So instead of me going off to the right and standing in everyone else's way, I'm going to go left a little bit and make sure that I don't get nuked. However, luckily for us, it's gone anyway, so all back to normal. As you can see as well, again, the healer on the left-hand side at the back behind the tank is standing in the little cubby holes, moving from one to the next every time a lightning AoE lands on her head, and everything is fine. Remember, if you stand in it, you'll lose resources rapidly. Now, the next phase is coming up very, very soon, and you need to pay very close attention to this. At 26%, he's going to jump. You still must kill the ads. Again, rule of 3 basically, lightning adds jump. But obviously, execute is a little different. It's got a fire phase. What will happen is there will be 3 major AoEs landing on the ground, one after the other. And he'll do it every time he glows orange. Now, one will be at the left-hand side where the tank is, one will be at the far right where the kiter is, and one will be in the middle in one of 2 places. The front near the gate, or back near the fence. All you need to do is get in the middle. So, you center yourselves on the boss at the back in your semicircles like you have been doing the whole fight. Always maintain that, but here is where you need to pay attention. The middle one is at the back, so we run to the front. This one here on the left and right, don't make any difference. Just don't stand near them, they will never catch you. So get that in your mind, it's not a panic. The middle section where we're standing, if we step back a bit, the left one won't catch us. We're not near the right one, so it will never catch us. The middle one will be either front or back. Wherever it is, you run to the other side. And because we're hovering around the center, it's very easy to find that gap. Here, run to the front. Very simple. That won't get us. Easy peasy. The other one won't get us. Repeat that all day long. You'll never have an issue. But the reason you hover around the middle, like I said already, is because then it makes the gap a lot shorter when you have to run to either side. Here is a risky spot for me because I'm trying to res someone while I could get the fire on my head, which means I've got to run bloody fast to get to the other side if it lands on me. So that's where you want to maintain your positions quite central if you can. However, again, there is a trick to this. There you go, it's at the back. That was lucky. If you are scared of this mechanic, if you cannot quite figure it out yet and you want more time to see what's happening, mist form if you get caught. For some people, you might even want to take off your beast trap, slow down your DPS a little bit, and use that as your survival skill. If you mist form in the middle of the fire, you will not die. You will take barely any damage. The one thing to note about the fire phase, however, is you will have a nasty 4-second damage over time fire effect on you. It's at the front, run to the back, nice and easy. You will want that purged or have rather heavy heals in your group once that is on you if you get caught by it. Even if you're mistformed, you will want the purge once you come out of it. If not, maintain mistform as long as your health isn't going down too fast until the dot has gone. That is for groups that are practicing because this is the phase that kills people the most. Apart from that, it's rinse, repeat. Lightning AoEs, spread out, find your spaces, come back in again. Adds, kill it, otherwise you can't hurt the boss. Fire, it's either front or back, avoid the left and right sides because it won't ever get you. This was an unfortunate lightning phase, we were not ready for that, but again, maintain your spots, wiggle a little bit if you have to, make sure you don't stand on more than one. If you do get caught by more than one lightning tick, you will die. Now, without sounding like a broken record, the fight doesn't change from here. If you have a mass amount of deaths, I mean, of course, you can bring necromancers with you, you can bring people with Kregnak's Hope, you can bring whatever you want to help yourselves get back in the fight quickly, but the one thing you must do after those reses are done is maintain your position. Back to your semicircle as quick as possible, ready for that lightning spread out or fan out phase. This doesn't change from here on out. Add, boss, rinse, repeat. As far as damage is concerned, as far as your own survivability, you don't really get hit that much. If you wiggle the lightning, it won't touch you. If you move out of the way of the fire, it won't touch you. If you don't stand in front of the boss, he won't touch you. Most of the time, you don't even need a heal on this version of the fight. But things can go wrong. People do get caught, so just be very aware of your placement. This is a very mechanical fight for you as far as your footwork is concerned. It's all about your coordination, your placement of your feet, and your understanding of the basic mechanics in the fight. It's very long, drawn out, and repetitive. If you have low DPS, if you have high DPS, you can make it happen a lot quicker. Even a speed run can be done with very low DPS if you are paying attention to the actual mechanics and you're actually very good at them. So don't panic about having to have 100k DPS or else. It's not the case. In fact, 30k DPS from 8 people can kill it in 7 minutes, excluding mechanics itself. And the speed run is 15. So if you've got enough damage or mechanical awareness to actually deal with the adds in hard mode nice and quickly, deal with the protectors nice and quickly, you've still got 8 minutes worth of that before you even fail it. So it's absolutely fine. You don't need to rush anything. Take your time, get good at it, and then speed up if you really want to. The hard mode demonstration, I'm going to basically show you the difference. There's not really much in it apart from the fact you do have to deal with the extra bosses. So the first part of the fight is exactly the same. The boss even has the same amount of health. But what you need to be aware of, again, with your semicircles, and make sure you have a back kiter for definite on this one because you have to deal with the Night Blade. what will happen is at 91% when he does his jump, that's when you'll also be introduced to the first boss. You'll get the poison boss. Llothis will come in. Now, he does have very similar mechanics to what he does on the regular version of the fight, but he doesn't bring his adds. He will have the poison cone, and he will have the interruptible mechanic. Those are the two things that you must focus on. So as we get to this stage here, you'll see the boss jump around the room. Great, everyone's gone to their sides and blocked. Now, when he's finished doing his jumpy jump, your off tank needs to make sure that they grab that add as soon as possible and try to manipulate its position to bring it close to the boss. If you do that, as you can see, the poison, the steam has gone from the boss there. Remember I said earlier that it will face people? He's going to finish his whole rotation facing that way. Just get out of his face, he will turn around when he's finished. But the poison boss will come in, and he will do the interruptible mechanics. You have to make sure someone bashes him, and he will also do the poison triangle. You have to be aware of that. He's doing that right now, you can see, and he's interrupting, and Twa just now did that with a crushing shot. Great. Now, if you have the poison cone on you, remember, stand still and block. Make sure you're not spinning it around the group. If you have the interrupt mechanic, bash him, or interrupt with a long range interrupt. He will teleport, of course, and put a poison circle on the ground, just like before. Don't stand in it. Your tank, as I said earlier, what I was trying to get to, will need to make sure that is aggroed and pulled to the boss if they can. It is a ranged target. He won't come to you if he can reach, so you have to overshoot it. You have to be a little bit risky. Now, that's an advanced way of doing it. That's basically pull him in with the boss, AoE him down if you want to, or pull him in with the boss and make sure that you just focus him close to the boss and the boss can take AoE instead. But here's the trick. You must knock the boss down. The mini-boss, rather. If you don't kill him, i.e. sit him down, he will enrage eventually. Can you still survive with him enraged? Yes, you can. Can you still kill him with him enraged? Yes, you can. Is it difficult? Yes. You will take a lot more damage. He becomes a pain in the ass. So the trick is to try and kill him as fast as possible. While it's a DPS race to get him out of the enraged state, it is not a DPS race to actually kill him if you pack loads of resistances and heals and you know your mechanics. You can actually take your time on it if you really want to. Now, what I would recommend is that you actually save your ultimates just for the mini-boss. If you can get him in a really good position to nuke him down, then great. And that's the best time for you to use your ultimates. I wouldn't advise you to use them on the boss for the time being, because 9 times out of 10 the boss goes immune while you drop your ultis and they're wasted. So focus on the mini-boss as much as possible, then you can focus and pace the boss. Remember, it's not a race. You can take as long as you like on the main boss. He's going to die eventually. He has no major enrage mechanics. As you can see there, the boss is doing his little disco dance, having a bit of a fit there because we knocked him down. Now we just move over to the boss, the main one. Nice and simple. Get the poison guy down, then go on to the boss. Maintain the rest of your mechanics, the lightning and the protectors. If you don't kill the protectors, obviously you can't hit Olms. Just bear in mind, of course, by the way, if you do lack the mechanics to such an extent that you didn't even kill the first protector, a second one will come out, and a third, and so on and so forth. If a second one comes out, Llothis will actually be immune as well. You don't want that to happen. Now, after the second jump, we've got the Nightblade. He will come out. Obviously, the poison boss is about to wake up again. Now we've got both of them in the room. So you want to focus on your mechanics here. This is very, very important that you pay attention. You now have the poison AoE, the poison interruption mechanic, which people have to pay attention to. You have your lightning spread out, you have your protectors to deal with, and remember, your semicircle is key. There's 2 ways to deal with Llothis. You can stack him on the boss and deal with him that way, or if your group is capable of remembering where they're supposed to stand per lightning phase, you can just run over to him and kill him where he stands. The choice is yours. You can be advanced and put him on the boss, or you can just run to him, kill him, come back. But be careful of that lightning mechanic. Now, when the other boss comes into the room, we have to deal with him too. So keep to the same mechanics as you did before. I would probably prioritize the poison boss because he's got the most annoying mechanics, especially when he spreads the poison across the room. Get him down nice and quick just like you did before, and then focus on the other ad. Now you can go from one ad to the next to the boss, from one ad to the next to the boss, if you want to do it in that order, and just pace it as you go and take as long as you like. Or if you're more advanced, you can stack both mini-bosses on the main boss and then AoE them together. That is up to you, but both of them will enrage if they are alive too long. Yes, you can still survive, but it's not recommended because they hit very hard. Now, the tank can pull the Nightblade boss quite easily into the main boss's area, if you like. It's not that difficult to do because he is melee-based. However, he will jump from one target to another, so make sure that your kiter on the right-hand side is far back as possible to make sure that he will drop the main circle that he did on the main fight over there and not in the group. But if it happens in the group, just make sure you stand out of it. And in the meantime, you have to make sure that you don't actually struggle too much with his big boom mechanic, because he will throw that up in the air and you will have to deal with it. You will have to make sure you stand out of it. So if it's on your head, get out quick. Now again, that's pretty much rinse repeat from there on. You got to make sure you stack them like this if you can, because it's easier to deal with them in AoE. But if you can't do that, then don't panic. I mean, at the end of the day, what you can do is kill one, then kill the other. But what you've got to watch out for is the enrage. If they enrage, they hit harder, you need to kill them a little bit quicker, because otherwise they're in the room for too long, it's going to cause a problem. Essentially, the mechanics don't really change from there. Kill the ads, make sure that the protectors are your priority, then the mini bosses, then the main boss. The rest of the mechanics are exactly the same. It's a panic station. Yes, there's a lot going on, but practice makes perfect. You can do it. You don't have to go straight in at hard mode, and remember, you can go with one boss in hard mode or both. You can actually choose which one you take, because if you go left first, you don't obviously take the poison boss. If you go right first, you don't take the Nightblade boss. You can actually choose which ones you learn the mechanics of first. The hard mode, the mechanics for the main boss are exactly the same. The mechanics for the side bosses are somewhat slimmed down because they don't have the ads. It's just a case of maintaining your positions as a group and always getting back into that semicircle. Watch your feet, because that is what's going to kill you. The boss damage as such isn't really the main problem. It's where do you stand. Figure that bit out and you've got it all done. So, thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. If you are not subscribed on YouTube already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website XynodeGaming.com, where this written guide will be as well for more in-depth views and timers and tactics and all that kind of stuff. It will also be on the add-on as well, which you can get in-game on PC, called All About Mechanics. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.